With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Majid Tebboune, has affirmed Algeria's support for the state of Qatar in any decision it deems appropriate and necessary to preserve its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the protection of its civilians. The Emergency Arab Islamic Summit held in Doha, Qatar, has hailed the efforts deployed by Algeria in defending the sovereignty of the state of Qatar following the Zionist aggression against its territory. And the United Nations investigators have accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza in a bid to destroy the Palestinians there. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Joining me in the reading of this news bulletin, my colleague Mas'ud Sharfi. Hi, Mas'ud.
Hello, Jamal.
And first in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Majid Tebboune, has affirmed Algeria's support for the state of Qatar in any decision it deems appropriate and necessary to preserve its sovereignty, guarantee the integrity of its territory, and ensure the indispensable protection of its citizens. In a message addressed to the participants in the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit on the Zionist aggression against Qatar, read on his behalf by the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, the President of the Republic stressed that Algeria considers the aggression against Qatar an attack on the whole Arab Islamic nation and pledged full support to Qatar's leadership, government and people in protecting their sovereignty, territorial integrity and citizens. Let's listen to Mr. Attaf.
لم يعد من قبيل التطرف أو المغالاة الجزم.
It is no longer a matter of extremism or exaggeration to affirm that our collective security as a whole does not accept fragmentation, division or partition, and that what the brotherly state of Qatar has been subjected to through the blatant Israeli aggression, which is an assault on the entire Arab and Islamic nation, an assault on its security and stability, an assault on its sanctities and rights, and an assault on the values and principles in which it believes and in which humanity as a whole believes. In the face of this brutal aggression, Algeria stands sincere and faithful with the state of Qatar, its leadership, government and people, and to the brothers in this country, so dear to our hearts. Algeria extends all support and backing in what they deem appropriate and necessary to safeguard their sovereignty, preserve the integrity of their territory, and provide the necessary protection to their citizens.
And the President of the Republic noted that the UN Security Council meeting at Algeria's request showed strong solidarity with Qatar and stressed that the international community now sees deterrence and punishment as the only way to curb the occupiers' arrogance, urgent for united action to turn this awareness into firm measures.
2
days ago, the Security Council convened a meeting at the request of Algeria and with the support of a considerable number of brotherly and friendly countries to discuss the Israeli aggression against this brotherly country. The meeting witnessed remarkable solidarity and profound sympathy with the state of Qatar from all member states. The international community is no longer faint of voice, nor weak of will, nor reserved in responding to the Israeli occupation, but has rather, in its overwhelming majority, become convinced that there is no escape from deterrence and punishment for the one who considers himself an exception to all the rules, provisions, and regulations binding on others. Let our decisions be in harmony with this context, and let us push forward as one single and united front to translate this growing international awareness into firm measures to curb the arrogance of the occupier.
President Tebboune affirmed that the Israeli occupation, through its aggressive policies and crimes, is the greatest threat to regional and international peace and security, citing its genocide in Gaza, attacks on neighboring countries, constant escalation, and attempts to revive the myth of the Greater Israel. Over to you, مساء.
Meanwhile, the proceedings of the emergency meeting of the Human Rights Council opened today in Geneva to debate the Zionist aggression carried out last week against the state of Qatar. This urgent debate is convened in response to two official requests submitted last Wednesday, one by Pakistan on behalf of the member state of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), and the other by Kuwait on behalf of the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC). The council is discussing the September 9th aggression carried out by the Zionist entity against the state of Qatar, marking the 10th urgent debate since the Human Rights Council's creation in 2006. The attack which targeted Hamas officials hit a residential compound in Doha, the capital, mediating ceasefire negotiations in the Gaza Strip ravaged by Zionist genocide since October 2023 and has sparked widespread international condemnation. The Emergency Arab Islamic Summit held in Doha has hailed the efforts deployed by Algeria in defending the sovereignty of the state of Qatar following the Zionist aggression against its territory, notably through its call for the convening of an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. The final communiqué that concluded the work of this emergency summit praised Algeria's active role within the Security Council in favor of the Palestinian cause, particularly regarding efforts aimed at ending the Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip and enabling the State of Palestine to obtain full membership at the UN. Earlier, the leaders of the Arab and Islamic countries meeting in Doha in an extraordinary summit called for the establishment of a united front against the Zionist aggression against Qatar, describing it as a serious threat to regional and international peace and security and a flagrant violation of international law. The participants affirmed their absolute solidarity with Qatar, supporting all measures to protect its sovereignty, stability, and citizens, while denouncing the Zionist occupiers' impunity and urging the international community to hold it accountable for repeated crimes and violations. The leaders called for ending the Zionist occupation and establishing a Palestinian state within the 1967 borders with East al-Quds as its capital, condemned forced displacement and war crimes, warned against undermining mediation or imposing new realities, affirmed that any attack on Qatar targets the whole Arab and Islamic world, and praised Qatar's mediation role in Gaza. On the same occasion, the leaders welcomed the UN's New York Declaration in support of the two-state solution and urged the Security Council to establish a binding timetable to end the Zionist occupation. A tripartite meeting bringing together Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya was held Monday ahead of the opening of the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit in Doha, Qatar, according to a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad, and African Affairs. The meeting brought together the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration, and Tunisians Abroad of the sister country of Tunisia, Mr. Mohammed Ali Nafti, and the Minister in charge of managing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the sister country of Libya, Mr. Tahir Al-Bour. The meeting focused on monitoring and evaluating progress made in strengthening tripartite cooperation as part of the implementation of the conclusion of the last summit bringing together the leaders of the three countries. The meeting also constituted an opportunity for consultation and coordination on major current issues at the Arab and Maghreb levels. Over to you, Mohammed.
And Prime Minister Sifi Gharib has chaired an interministerial meeting to review ongoing preparations for the 2025-2026 school year. A statement from the Prime Minister's office said that the meeting, attended by the Ministers of the Interior, Local Authorities and Transport, Finance, National Education, as well as Housing, Urban Planning and Regional Development, provided an opportunity to review the various measures taken as part of the implementation of the President's guidelines relating to optimal preparation for the start of the school year in all its aspects, particularly in terms of pedagogy and the availability of educational institution and infrastructure across the country, in addition to various related services such as transportation and school canteens. To the Middle East now, where United Nations investigators have accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza in a bid to destroy the Palestinians there and blamed Israel's Prime Minister and other top officials for incitement. Navi Pillay, the chief of the UN an independent international commission of inquiry, which does not speak on behalf of the world body and has faced harsh Israeli criticism, found that genocide is occurring in Gaza and it's continuing to occur. The responsibility for these atrocities and crimes lies with Israel, atrocities at the highest level, which have orchestrated a genocidal campaign for almost 2 years now with the specific intent to eradicate the Palestinian group in Gaza. Let's listen to her.
Today we published our report analyzing Israel's conduct in the Gaza Strip pursuant to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The Commission concluded that Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza and that it is continuing with that genocide. It is now almost 2 years since Israel launched its military campaign in the Gaza Strip in October 2023. This has been the most ruthless, prolonged, and widespread attack against the Palestinian people since 1948. Every day that passes, the killings and the starvation of the Palestinians continue.
Meanwhile, the Commission tasked with investigating the rights situation in the occupied Palestinian territories published its latest report on Tuesday, nearly 2 years after the war erupted in Gaza. And the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, has reiterated that the Zionist entity was committing genocide in Gaza, slamming what it said was the complicity of other countries as the shame of our time. Far too many states continue to look away, normalize the suffering, and even profit from it, Albanese told reporters in Geneva. She stressed that arms trade and diplomatic engagement with the Zionist entity continue unabated, while calling for accountability for the very people who have been given orders to continue trade and arms transfers towards the Zionist entity. Let's listen to Francesca Albanese.
Far too many states continue to look away, normalize the suffering, and they even profit from it. Arms, trade, and diplomatic engagement with Israel continue unabated, and this is not just morally wrong, this is unlawful. As I argued in my last report to the Human Rights Council, this genocide has become profitable, unfortunately, not just for some corrupt private entities. And this is not only Israel's crimes, this is a world's crime sustained by silence, complicity, and the supply of funds, weapons, and political cover. History will remember, because it's not that this is the first genocide that is been known. No, the Holocaust, the genocide in Bosnia, the genocide in Rwanda were also known to the people of the time. But this genocide happened because the world didn't care enough to stop them, like today, or not. But today's genocide has something different, is openly incited, cynically denied, and relentlessly supported, armed, and weaponized, while those who oppose it are silenced, beaten, criminalized, and smeared. This is why I say this is the shame of our time, and the collapse of the international legal order lays in this moment, not only for the Palestinians, but for all of us. So I asked prime ministers, presidents, foreign ministers, so-called world leaders, how do you sleep? When will you act, truly act beyond words?
Albanese said the Zionist entity was trying to make Gaza City unlivable in its assault on the enclave's largest urban area before advancing the ethnic cleansing of that piece of land. Meanwhile, from Al Mawasi in Gaza, UNICEF Communication Manager for North Africa and the Middle East, Ms. Tess Ingram, has highlighted the worsening malnutrition and displacement crisis amid ongoing Israeli military escalation and the nearly collapsed life-saving services in Gaza City.
Child malnutrition in Gaza is spiraling. We estimate 26,000 children in the Gaza Strip currently require treatment for acute malnutrition today, including more than 10,000 in Gaza City alone. In August, more than 1 in 8 children that we screened across the Strip were acutely malnourished, the highest level we have ever recorded in the Gaza Strip. And in Gaza City, it was 1 in 5. And yet, as these needs continue to grow, services are collapsing. More nutrition centres in Gaza City have been forced to shut this week due to evacuation orders and military escalation, bringing the total to 16, cutting off children from a third of the remaining treatment sites that can save their lives. We're here and responding, but it is becoming harder with every bombardment and every denial. To whom it may concern, to those with power and the responsibility to act for children, yet who have not done so. You know what our calls now are. You know what children need. They have not changed for nearly 2 years.
And the UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher has warned of a humanitarian tragedy in Yemen, stating that an additional 1 million people are expected to fall into extreme hunger in the coming months. Mr. Fletcher told members of the Security Council who were meeting to discuss the situation in Yemen that 1 in 5 households goes entire days without food.
Rising food prices, security threats to our work, a collapsing economy, and conflict have made Yemen the third most food insecure country on earth. Before February next year, 1 million more people are expected to be forced into extreme hunger, joining 17 million Yemenis with too little to eat. This includes more than 40,000 people in the catastrophic phase of food insecurity. 70% of households in Yemen do not have enough food to meet their daily needs. This is the highest rate ever recorded. Nearly half of the population in the country are now suffering severe food deprivation, a jump from 36% only a year ago. 1 in 3 families is experiencing moderate to severe hunger. In 1 out of 5 households, someone goes a full day and night without any food at all. I've raised this alarm here before, but this reporting confirms our and your worst fears.
For his part, the UN Special Envoy to Yemen, Hans Grundberg, warned against the continuation of the conflict in Yemen, arguing that this unresolved conflict acts as a seismic fault line.
I have repeatedly emphasized to this Council that stability in Yemen cannot be separated from the wider dynamics of the region. Yemen's unresolved conflict is like a fault line, sending tremors across its borders and amplifying existing regional rivalries. And at the same time, the broader instability in the Middle East continues to return to Yemen, fueling its divisions and delaying sustainable peace. In other words, Yemen is both a mirror and a magnifier of the region's volatility. Left unaddressed, its conflict will perpetuate tension far beyond Yemen. And conversely, without addressing the sources of the region's instability, Yemen's peace process will remain fragile. Stability in one arena depends on progress in the other. Today, neither can advance in isolation. The current cycle of violence is dragging Yemen further away from a peace process that would bring a sustainable long-term peace and economic growth. We need to get the focus back on Yemen, focus on both its internal challenges and on unlocking its great potential.
Meanwhile, the I3+ group at the United Nations Security Council, including Algeria, Somalia, Sierra Leone, and Guyana, has called in New York for the peace process in Yemen to be advanced through the creation of an environment conducive to dialogue, stressing the importance of respecting the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of the country. Speaking on behalf of the A3+ and Security Council session on the situation in Yemen, Somalia's representative to the UN, Ambassador Abu Bakr Dahir Osman, said the group called on regional actors to build an environment conducive to dialogue.
A3+ calls on all parties to exercise maximum restraint to refrain from unilateral actions that risk undermining the prospect for peace and to engage constructively in a good faith with United Nations-led process. We also underscore the important role of the regional actors in creating an environment conducive to dialogue and de-escalation. A3+ reaffirms its strong commitment to the sovereignty, unity, independence, and territorial integrity of Yemen. We will continue to support the efforts of Special Envoy, OCHA, and other broader United Nations system in advancing peace, alleviating humanitarian suffering, and ensuring a stable and secure future for Yemen and its people.
That was Somalia's representative to the UN, Ambassador Abu Bakr Dahir Osman, speaking on behalf of the A3 Plus group at the United Nations Security Council. And with this last piece of news, we come to the end of this news bulletin for today. Time now for your weekly program, the Health Magazine, as every Tuesday. The Health Magazine that will be devoted to one of the health issues that people suffer from. With this, we come to the end of it. We'll meet you again tomorrow for Fish Edition or News Bulletin. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now. Hello and welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Salt is the most important source of salt